Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm doing a build video. I know it's taken me forever to do it, but I finally had a little bit of time. I said, you know what? Let's do a build video this morning. Everyone's been asking about it, and so let's see what makes Matagon Matagon, shall we? All right. First thing we got to do is that we're going to go into what am I wearing? Right? What's fashionable for a Magicka Nightblade? That's what my guy is. He is a Magicka Nightblade. And right now, the two really good sets that work out well for pairing are Perfected False Gods. This falls in Veteran Sunspire, and it's got a lot of different stats to it. I have a trait in Divines. My enchantment is Magicka. And if you look at all the different things, all the different things that it gives you, you get added spell crit. You get the 3-item thing is gain minor slayer at all times, which increases your damage in dungeon, trial, and arenas by 5%. The 4th item is a spell crit. And then you get 3 5 items. Now, this is what makes this so good, is that a lot of times you only get 2 5-item sections here. This one you get 3. So I get spell damage. I get added Magicka, maximum Magicka by 1096. All right. That's actually the only difference between perfected and non-perfected. So you don't have to get perfected. The only thing that you lose is the 1096 maximum Magicka. So if you're able to go on normal Sunspire, get this, or you've collected, from the chest or whatever in there, do it. Because you're still going to get the last number 5 item, which is the big one. Reduce the cost of your Magicka abilities by 8%. When you kill an enemy, you restore 2150 Magicka and gain Major Expedition for 8 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 30%. So it's that 8% reduction in cost, because we're always trying to have our resources, our Magicka recovery, to be at its best. So that's the big one. And for me, I have Perfected False Gods on the chest, the sash, the breeches, the gloves, the amulet. Yeah. The other set, as you see, that I fill in the rest, is Mother Sorrow. And Mother Sorrow is actually also my staff. All right, and so for for the armor pieces, I have a Magicka enchantment, and then the trait is Divines. Why we like Divines for Perfected False Gods and Mother Sorrow is because if you look, it increases the Mundus Stone effect by 7.5%. And my Mundus Stone is going to be my crit. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So actually, you know what? I'll show that down just so that makes sense. My Mundus Stone is the Shadow, which increases my critical damage by 19%. So it adds to that. Excuse me. All right. So Mother Sorrow, what does it do for us? Gives us 1096 maximum Magicka, and then you see a whole bunch of spell crit. Boom, boom, boom. So we're really going heavy spell crit with this build. I spell crit every single time. I think my uptime is almost 100%. So very rarely do I. It's something like it's in the 90%-ish. High 90%ish that I do crit damage. So, all right. So, why I've got Mother Sorrow as my staff is because for my second staff, I do have the Maelstrom Inferno staff. All right, the Maelstrom Inferno staff in here. What's great about it is that if you look down on the items, in there it says your light and heavy attacks deal an additional 1341 damage to enemies in your Wall of Elements, which I use. That's one of my skills that I use. So I lay down Wall of Elements, and then I start doing my light attack, within my weaving, and I'm going to do more damage. For those wondering, okay, why would you pick an Inferno staff? It breaks up. Like you see, it's not highlighted because I'm on my other bar. It's like, why would you use it if, like, it takes off some of your set bonuses? Like when I have my Maelstrom staff on, I don't get the set bonus of Mother's Sorrow. I lose some of the spell crypt. Well, because it's made up because of that, what the Maelstrom Inferno weapons give you. In this case, that Wall of Elements and the extra light and heavy attack damage. So that's why you do it. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off between the two. So, all right. So 5 pieces Perfected False Gods, 5 pieces Mother's Sorrow. And then for the weapons, my enchant is the flame damage for the enchant, and I go with Precise for the trait. Increases my weapon and spell critical by 7%. On my Maelstrom Inferno staff, I go with Absorb Magicka just to give me, get some Magicka back. It's all about the resources. That one you can add different enchantments on there. I go with that. Infuse increases the weapon enchantment effect, so I get even a little bit more bonuses when I do that. All right, so boom, boom, boom. We talked about divines. On the jewelry, the enchantment that I have for the amulet is spell damage and arcane for the trait, which ups my maximum magicka. On both my rings for Mother Sorrow, I've got spell damage, but I do Bloodthirsty on both. What Bloodthirsty does increases the damage against enemies under 25% health, and it's by 10%. So it does a lot of increased damage when they're below. And for a Nightblade, that's really important because we have a wonderful execute, and I'll talk about that execute skill in a second. Have my coffee here, very good. And so that just adds to that. So if you ever watch Nightblades, or if you watch me when I get below 25% on either a boss or something, and the enemy really starts to melt at the end, it's because of that. Because I've got Bloodthirsty plus my Execute. And it does a lot of damage. Alright. So that's all the different things that I have here. Now, the last part is the Monster Helm and Shoulder package. I have 3 sets that I use within this. Ice Heart, I love my Ice Hearts. My Ice Heart is so great. If you guys don't know, Ice Heart is great for Magicka and Stamina in here. And let's kind of go through. The Ice Heart, you find it in Dire Frost. On Veteran, chance to drop. You either want a heavy or a medium. The great thing about this that they changed and made it so that it worked for both is that all you need is either a medium or a heavy on each. You just have to have the opposite, one heavy, one medium, and it will still give you the same armor stat. So like if you look at my armor stat for my shoulders, this is 1823. And for the heavy, it says 2425. If I had the helm in medium, but I had the shoulder in heavy, it would actually switch those stats. You would actually have the 2425 on the shoulder. They did that because it's so hard. There's a lot of RNG of, do I get a heavy? When you get the shoulder, it's RNG from getting from the Undaunted chests. So it's sometimes really hard to get them. And so he made that so that you didn't have to get the specific, heavy for, and that was the only armor that you could get. So it doesn't matter. You just want the opposite. Why you want heavy and medium in a light armor build, because everything else is light. All right. There is a skill in the Undaunted. Well, there's a passive in the Undaunted. I'll show that now just so that makes sense. Called Undaunted Metal. So all the way down at the bottom, it's this one thing. Increases your max health, stamina, magicka by 2% per type of armor. So heavy, medium, or light that you have equipped. So I'm getting a 6% bonus to my health, stamina, and magicka because I'm using light, which is my main, and the monster helm, which works out really well this way, of the medium and the heavy. So if you ever wondered why people were saying, oh, the light, if they're a light, light armor wearer mostly, and they're like, oh, I need a heavy and I need a medium. What they're talking about is for this skill, this passive. So that when you get that, you get a 6% bonus to that. So that's why people will get everything in light, and then they will have one heavy and one medium. It doesn't matter which. I still trait them in divines, and the shoulder I did in magicka. And because Ice Heart is for a little more tankiness, I put a maximum health on this one. It's the only one I don't do magicka. At this point, I got plenty of magicka. My health is more important. Give me a little bit extra health so that I'm able to survive a little bit more, because that's what Ice Heart's giving me. So if you look at the Ice Heart set, what you got here is that the number 1 adds more spell crit. Well, you know I love spell crit. All right? And then it says when you deal critical damage, which I do it all the time, you have a 20% chance to gain a damage shield that absorbs 8,600 damage for 6 seconds. That has saved my butt so many times. While the damage shield holds, you deal 1031 frost damage to all enemies within 5 meters of you every second, which is fantastic. So it gives me an AoE around me, especially for all those mobs, so I can take on. So I'm a little tanky-ish, light armor tanky-ish, So it gives me a shield when I crit. I crit all the time, so it works. It synergizes with my build, and I get a little AoE in there. So this, when I'm soloing and I'm just going around in the world, in there, this is what I usually have, and I like it because I'm a snow Khajiit. And so it gives me a little RP thing as well. So this is when you see me going around, this is usually the set and setup that I have. Now, when I'm doing a trial, or I want to do some bigger damage, especially single target damage, I will switch out to my Slime Craw. All right? So there's my Slime Craw set. Now what Slime Craw does, okay, I have it in magicka. I don't worry about the health. All right, I have magicka enchantment on both. I still trait in divines. All right. It's number 1 item. It does give me more spell crit. Love that. And then you gain minor berserk at all times, increasing your damage done by 8%. So where Ice Heart gives me that shielding, makes me a little tankier, a little bit more survivable, a little less squishy. The Slime Craw is like, I'm offensive. I'm going at it. I've got trust in my healer. I've got a healer in the group. I know I'm not going to die. All right? And I'm going, I'm with a trial group, or I'm with a good dungeon group, and I trust that I'm not, I'm going to have a little bit of shielding through others of their skills. And I'm just a damage. I'm doing my DPS. I'm doing my best to do as much damage as I can. So, that's what I use that for. The last one in here is Zons. Zons I use because, as of now, it's really good for when I want to parse. It's a good parsing one, and I can use it as well in there. And actually, when I parse for my trials, now I use Slime Cross, so I get a little more accurate of what I would do in a trial. But if I want to try to get some big numbers on my parsing, I use Zon. Zon does a little bit more because of its special thing. Again, I have it enchanted in Magicka. Trait is Divines. Spell Crit is the first item. The second item is when you damage nearby enemy with light or heavy attack, you have a 20% chance to create a beam of fire that will connect you to the enemy. The beam does 4,781 flame damage every second to your enemy for 5 seconds. Every second this damage increases by 50%. The beam is broken if the enemy is 8 meters away from you. This effect can occur every 18 seconds. In the process of parsing, it does more damage overall. So, it gives me some higher numbers. So, that's why I keep it in there. So, these are the 3 things I keep on myself at all time. A tanky, more damage, and a fun parsing thing. Alright. Yeah. So, that covers the armor stuff in here. Get my coffee. No. All right. Let's look at the skills. All right. Over here, I have 3 different setups that I have. I love this little. It's a swap skills continued is the add-on in here. I like it because it gives me an easy setup when I'm doing things. My first one is my overworld. Overworld is just me traveling through the game, questing, doing stuff on my own. Might need a little bit of sneakiness to get in and out of situations. So that's what I do. And it really is, the only real difference is my number 5 skills within here. They're the only ones that really change. So let's go through what I've got. All right, so for my overworld, my front bar, I've got Twisted Path. Love Twisted Path. Wonderful AoE. Creates a corridor of shadows, granting you and the allies major expedition, increasing your movement speed by 30%. The effect persists for 4 seconds after leaving the path. Deals 2044 magic damage to the enemies to the target every 1 second. And actually, you know what? That's going to... I think that's going to change a little bit if I put my Slime Craw on. Let me just make sure. I'll put that on so we get the biggest damage. Is that going to change it a little bit? I think it did, right? Did it go 20, 22, 14? What did it have before? Boom, boom. I should have looked at the numbers. Boom. Yeah, 20, 44. So yeah, so it ups it a little bit. So yeah, so let's put the Slime Craw back on. All right. I love it. Twisting Path is great. It's one of my favorite ones, and it's so unique to the Nightblade. So again, I can lay it down. It's this red kind of smoky plume-ish kind of thing in there. It does damage in there. And also, if you notice, in my little buffs there, when I lay it down, let's see, there we go. I get a little speed buff. See my little streaks. A little speed buff for a little bit. So, really nice. All right. My next one is my bread and butter. I hope they never change this. This is one, I mean, they could change it to make it more powerful, but if they ever want to go that way. But Swallow Soul is such the main thing that, I mean, it's the reason why I could this skill VMA. I did a 1 skill VMA run, and it was this skill. Because not only are you going to do damage, you're going to steal some life force and heal yourself. So it's a damage plus a healing as well. So steal an enemy's life force, dealing 824 magic damage, and healing you for 36% of the damage inflicted every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So I'm attacking something, boom, and I've got my steel. Yeah. Love it. Gets me my health back. You know, when I'm dealing damage to an enemy, and I'm looking like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die or something like that, I start breaking out the light attack and steel weaving. Yeah, and start to get that. So, love it. The next one I use is the Merciless Resolve in here. I should probably show, let's see, so for Twisted Path, that is under the, it's under the Shadow. Alright, under the Shadow abilities. The Swallow Soul is under Siphoning. It's the first one you get, which is fantastic. It's the first one you get. So Swallowing Soul. The next one, Merciless Resolve, is under Assassination. It's one of the last ones you get. The great thing about this one, let's see, well, let's read it first. Focus your senses for 40 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 2% for every light and heavy attack. Stacks up to 5 times. This is really nice. It actually gives you a little bit of tankiness, a little bit of buff on there to your build. But the big thing is while attacking and hitting with 5 light attacks or heavy attacks, it converts this ability into Assassin's Will, allowing you to fire a spectral arrow for half cost that deals a ton of damage, almost 1900 to 18,529. Excuse me. Get my coffee. Magic damage and heals for 50% of the damage if I'm within 7 meters of the enemy. So it gives me a heal, gives me a little shield, and it gives me a big pop, a big damage hit. So it's almost kind of like a little, not like a little mini game, but it's kind of like I set it, and I make sure that I'm doing some light attacks or whatever. You see the number is building up to 5, turns purple. I've got it, and then watch this pop. And I go, bam, and I do 15k. Build it up again. Pop. Ooh, there it goes. There, crit. I wanted to see the crit. I always say that I almost crit 100% of the time, but no. So I did like 32 on that one. Let's set it up one more time. Fine. Ah! Just because I wanted to show my criticalness. There it goes. Yep, 32. Boom. So yeah. So yeah, it's a wonderful one. So what I'll usually do is that I'm laying down the AoE. I'm going around. I got it selected. I'm battling an enemy, doing my light attack weaving as I'm doing stuff. It builds up, and then I pop it. Boom. There we go. All right. There's that. Then on the other one on my front bar, I have Impale. Here's that Execute that I talked about. It's one of the first abilities, again, you get in the Assassin. So you get a lot of strong abilities right off the bat. So you Impale. This morph makes it a range attack. Throw a magic blade that is lethal precision to strike an enemy, dealing 45, 30 magic damage. Deals 300% more damage to enemies below 25% health. It's just amazing. And you're not going to see it with this just because he's at high health in here. But you get that big pop towards the end. I love it. I think I've got my sound up enough that you can hear it. It has a very distinct sound to it. And so everybody knows when you're going into Execute. So let me see if I can, let me raise up my volume a little bit in game. So let's do this. So like, everybody's battling. And then it gets to 25%, and here goes the Nightblades. Hear that? Oh, it's so great. When you hear that, especially when you hear like multiple Nightblades doing that, you're like, oh, you just see the numbers go down, down, down. It's fantastic. I love it. That's probably the reason I love, one of the big reasons I love Nightblades. So yeah, big execute. So the AoE, the spammable, the big pop, the execute, and then this one I use shadowy disguise. So this is my stealth. Cloak myself in stealth in there, so I'm able to kind of move around when I'm. Remember, this is my overworld. Gets me through dungeons real quick. Every 3 seconds. Love it. And then for my ultimate, I use incapacitating strikes. Right here under assassination. Ravage an enemy with swift strike, dealing 13 2, 3, 8 damage, and causing them to take 20% more damage from your attacks for 6 seconds. If cast within 120 or more, ultimate, the enemy is silenced for 3 seconds. While slotting, you gain Reeve, which restores 100 magicka and stamina when you deal damage with light or heavy attack on the enemy with a negative effect on them. So this is why I chose this morph instead of the other one. I like this morph because of gives me a little sustain. So and usually I have some type of negative effect on them, and so it'll give me some sustain back. So it's all about keeping up my magicka, keeping up the sustain. So there's the front bar of Overload. Back bar. Right? Back bar has a lot of my AoE setup. It works well with my Maelstrom staff. The first one is Unstable Fire. It comes underneath the Destruction staff. So Unstable Wall of Fire. Slam your staff down to create an unstable flaming barrier in front of you, dealing 1142 flame damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. Burning enemies take 20% more damage from this ability. When the effect ends, barrier explodes, dealing 6642 flame damage. And it's really that explosion at the end is what why we choose this morph with it, because at this point right now, it does more damage. Then this one, I love the orbs. I just love the orbs. I've always loved the orbs ever since I saw it. It's part of the Undaunted. A lot of people actually don't know that there's a damage morph for the Undaunted orbs, because it's such a staple for healers to use the orbs for people to synergize and get health back and do a little damage. But Mystic Orb is actually the damaging orb. Project a globe of annihilation that slowly floats forward, dealing 1096 magic damage every half second to nearby enemies. An ally near the globe can activate the combustion synergy, causing the orb to explode for 7328 magic damage to nearby enemies and restore 3960 magic or stamina to the ally, whichever maximum is higher. So those become my two big AoEs when I begin. So I lay down my wall, and then I do my orb. So the orb is great. I love it because you can kind of time it. You know, when you're coming into like an enemy zone, you can get that going, get it there, light that up. You try to time it, place it so it gives the maximum amount of DPS. Now you see it going just against one enemy at this point. If there were several enemies around, you would see that same blue beam going out to all of them. Yeah. Then some utility stuff in the background. I've got my siphoning attacks. It's under siphoning, of course. My siphoning attack in there. Imbue your weapon with soul-stealing power, causing your light and heavy attacks to heal you for $14.95. Restore magicka. And restore magicka for 106 magicka for 20 seconds. Fully charged heavy attacks restore twice the value. You restore up to 4270 additional magicka when the effect ends, based on the length of time the siphoning attack was active. So you want this to fully complete, and so that you get the full magicka back. This is a big part of our sustain. So I put it on, boom, and I'm doing stuff, and I'm getting some magicka back. All right, so I'm hitting, if you look, there's the 12. Actually, here, let me use up some magicka. So there's that. So watch my blue bar on the bottom left, and you see it just filled up. Do that again. So I set it. I use up my magicka. So it's 10 seconds left. There you go. And it gives me magicka back. And my food died off, so I'm going to have to put my food back on. But I'll talk about food in a second. So, siphoning attack. And then with this one, in place of a shield, I could use a shield from the light armor. Like a dampened magic. Each piece of light armor war increases the amount of damage absorbed by 6%. I like that one. But I've been really liking the Mirage, just because this lasts only like 6 seconds. The Mirage gives me major, surround yourself in phantasmic aura, gain major evasion, and minor resolve, reducing the damage of the area attacks by 25%, increasing the physical and spell resistance by 1320 for 26 seconds. So it's a good one that I can just kind of throw on in the middle or at the beginning of battle and kind of forget about it for a while, where this one I really have to time it when I need it to be used. So big difference between the two. There we go. And then lastly, I put charging maneuver. This is actually, and this is probably people are going to be like, what? You put that on there? Yeah, I've got charging maneuver from the PvP, the assault, on there. It grants you a major and minor expedition, increasing your movement speed by 30%, 10% respectively for 8 seconds. You and your group gain major gallop, increasing your mounted speed by 30% for 30 seconds. Why I have that on here, and you're like, well, don't you have like rapid assist? There's an add-on called rapid assist that automatically puts it on your bar when you mount. I have it on here because when I'm doing Overworld, it helps me speed through dungeons or delves or something if I want to go quick. So I'll pop that on, switch my bar, go stealth, and now I'm a fast stealthy, almost as if I were a vampire. Vampire gets speed boosts in stealth, and I'm not a vampire. I don't do the vampire stuff. So yeah. So that's why it's on there. Get more coffee here. So, and then the big gun, the ulti. I use the destruction weapon ulti. I take the morph elemental rage. Creates a cataclysmic storm at the targeted location that builds for 2 seconds and lays waste to all the enemies in the area, dealing 71-75 magic damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. Fiery Rage increases the damage by 15% and mobilizes all that stuff in there. And actually, I just realized some of those numbers will be off because I don't have my food on. So take those numbers with a grain of salt. Let's get my food back on. I use our Tam pickled fish bowl mostly. I'll explain that in a second. But so yeah, that's those numbers are slightly changed. So all the enemies in the area. So 94, 77 flame damage is going to be happy in there. So, gosh, how long has my food been off? My food's been off. These numbers are going to change a little bit. So Wall of Fire, 6642 flame damage. The orb, 1242 magic damage. Restore 4270 additional magic. And that's not going to be affected. So, there we go. I think that gets us back. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's up, so I can show you what it is. So yeah, it does a big pop, and I love it because it can go at a targeted location. There's another one that's very common that people will use in the mage. Where is it? In the Mage's Guild, which is Shooting Star. Cast down constellations to blast an enemy for 15007 flame damage to all enemies in the area, knocking them down, stunning them for 2 seconds. After impact, enemy and targets take 4197 flame damage every second for 13 seconds. You generate 12 ultimate for each enemy hit by initial blast. So it's good for like a group one, in there as well. But like I said, I like this one because I can place it. This one, it goes on the enemy. Here I can put it in an area. So that's the big difference. So yeah, so I can be far away, or I could be up close, and I could just, boom, put down my ultimate. And just ticks away at some big to everybody in there. Great looking too. So yeah. There is my all the skills that I've got going. All right. So yeah, so that's for my overworld. So what changes for my different ones? Like I said, it's usually the number 5. The number 5 on each are going to change. I'm going to change, and I just put Inner Light. Inner Light is a mage one that it actually works well for like a PvP for revealing stealth to enemies. But I want it for the second thing. When slotted, your max magicka is increased by 5%. And you gain major prophecy, increasing your spell crit. Again, I'm all about the spell crit. 2191. So 2191. So for the build that I see on a lot of the build sites in there, what they'll use is that they will use Dark Shade. They'll put Dark Shade in there. It's kind of what the meta is right now. Dark Shade summons a guy that comes out that does some AoE damage, puts on, summon a Shade version of yourself attacking the enemies to fight at your side for 20 seconds. The Shade slashes an enemy, dealing 32-37 magic damage, occasionally whirlwinds all enemies around it, dealing 30-54 magic damage. The Shade's attacks inflict minor maim. So that's one of the big things. So it puts minor maim on there, reducing the enemy's damage done for 15%. The ability scales with your highest offensive stats. So gives you a little bit of some extra damage in there. For me, when I do my rotation, like I said, I try real hard, but sometimes I just can't get things to flow. And that's one of them that when I put in my rotation, when I parse, or when I'm doing damage, it just doesn't flow for me. So I have to have a passive. And so my passive, where I don't have to do anything with it, it just gives me a little extra stats, is putting that Inner Light. On the back bar, I add Channel Acceleration. It's part of the Psijic Order. And I use this morph, bend time and space around you to gain major expedition for 12 seconds, and Minor Force for 36 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 30% and crit damage done by 10%. It's the crit damage by 10%. I crit a lot, and so now I've just upped all of my critical damage by 10%. So, love it. The only thing is, and I've had to practice it a lot to kind of get into my rotation, is that there's a cast. You see, there's a cast time. So when I'm doing my kind of rotation of things, and I'm doing stuff, I've got to plan it out because there's a pause when I do things. So yeah. So there we go. Now, what's the difference between that and my parse? My parse in here, let's see, the front bar doesn't change. The back bar does. I put Elemental Drain because I don't need the... I'm not going to need a shield. So I put Elemental Drain on there. Elemental Drain is wonderful because it gives... send the elements to sap the enemy's defenses, afflicting them with major breach for 23 seconds, reducing their spell resistance by 50 to 80. Also applies minor Magicka Steel to the enemies for 23 seconds, causing you and your allies to restore 300 Magicka every second while damaging them. So, gives you a little damage, and you get that Magicka back, so you get that restoration back. You restore you get your recovery of Magicka, which is big. Yeah. Let's see. Does that cover all the skills that I use? Yeah, so that covers all the skills. Yeah. Then as far as the passives, you take everything in the assassination tree. Master Assassin increases your weapon damage, spell damage by 10% when you're sneaky or invisible. Increases the duration of stun from sneak. Executioner, when an enemy dies within 2 seconds of being damaged by one of your assassination abilities, you restore Magicka. Increases your weapon and spell crit rating by 438 for each assassination ability slotted. So my current bonus is 1314. And then Hemorrhage with the assassination ability slot increases your crit damage by 10%. There you go. Another crit damage in there. So my crit damage does a ton. Dealing crit damage grants you and your group minor savagery, increasing your weapon crit rating by 13, 24, 20 seconds. In the Shadow, increases your health, stamina, and Magicka recovery by 15%. That's always good. Casting a Shadow ability grants you Major Resolve for 6 seconds, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5280. This duration is increased by 25% for each piece of heavy armor equipped. And so I've got one piece of heavy armor. So there you go. So that helps me out. That's why I have the heavy armor piece on there. Dark Vigor increases your max health by 3% each shadow ability slotted. Gives me 3% bonus. Dark Veil increases the duration of your non-invisibility base shadow abilities by 2 seconds. And there's Siphoning. Catalyst, after drinking a potion, you gain 20 ultimate. Increases your max Magicka by 8%, while Siphon ability is slotted. Soul Siphoner increases your healing done by 3% with Siphoning ability slotted. So that helps me with my spammable, which is so great. Transfer casting a Siphoning ability generates 2 ultimate. So this effect can occur for 4 seconds. So I love that because this gives me a little extra ultimate in here, and then having my incapacitating in there is going to help as well. All right. So that was all of the class ones. Then for me, it's Destruction Staff. the Tri-Focus in there, fully charged Flame Staff, heavy attacks, deal 12% additional damage. That's the big one for me. The Shock, the Frost, and everything I don't get into. With Destruction Staff equipped, your Destruction Staff abilities ignore 10% of the enemy's spell resistance. Elemental Force increases your chance to apply burning effects by 100%. Ancient Knowledge for Flame Staff increases your damage done with single target abilities by 8%, which is nice. Destruction Expert, when you kill an enemy with Destruction Staff, you restore Magicka. Wonderful. We love it. For my armor, my light armor, I take all of them. Let's see. Reduces your effectiveness. A snare supplied to you by 4% for every piece of light armor. And reduces the cost of my sprint. Evocation increases Magicka recovery by 4% for each piece of light armor. Reduces Magicka cost of your abilities by 2% for each piece. That's huge. So I get a 10% bonus there. So you've got that 10% bonus plus the 8% with my Perfected False Gods armor. Wonderful. Increase your spell resistance for each piece of light armor. Well, with 5 or more pieces of light armor, increases your crit rating. Again, we love our crit. With 5 or more pieces of light armor, increases your spell penetration. We love that as well. For the medium armor, I do all the medium armor ones because of the bonuses of me having the one piece of medium. Increases your weapon crit rating by that for each piece of medium armor in there. Weapon crit doesn't really affect me too much, but I put it on there. Increases your stamina recovery by 4%. Which, even though I don't use stamina-based abilities, it's great to get recovery for my stamina for when I dodge and stuff. The let's see, improve sneak, reduces the sneak by 7% per piece, so there's 7% there. Reduces the size of your detection area when sneaking. And then these two, I put points into them. It doesn't affect me because I don't have 5 pieces in there, but I had the extra points. Let's see, increases the movement speed of your sprint and reduces your roll dodge costs. There you go. So I just put them all in there anyway. Coffee. All right, for this one, again, some of them don't apply. I just fill them up anyway. Increase physical and spell resistance by that for every piece of armor. That one does apply. Increase your health recovery. That applies. Restore Magicka and stamina when you take damage. That applies. Increase your max health by 2%. Why not? The 5 piece doesn't really apply. Rapid mending, that doesn't apply either. So that's all the passives of those. We did the destruction. We did the armor. World ones, that's just me with my lock picking. I've got soul magic on this one. Just allows you to revive once every 1 hour without spending a soul gem. In the guilds, that's all for those you don't really need specifically. Fighters Guild. I have the Intimidating Presence for RP. I like this one. Banish the Wicked. You generate 5 ultimate when you kill an undead Dage or a werewolf. That comes in handy. And then I do the bounty stuff for Cyrodiil. In Mages, I do Pervasive Will for the RP. I do Mage Adept. Reduces the Magicka and health costs of your Mage Guild abilities. Increases the duration of your Mage Guild abilities. Increases your max Magicka recovery by 2%. So that kind of helps out when I've got Inner Light on. In Might of the Guild, casting a Mage Guild grants you Empower. I don't use that a lot, but I got the points in it anyway. So if you need to, the ones that you don't really need, you can save on the points. Khajiit. Let's see. Do I have that for my channel acceleration? I used to use Elemental Weapon, but I don't anymore. So the only one that really, let's see, reduces the cost of your Khajiit Order abilities. Spell Orbs don't really apply when I don't have it. This is a good one. Concentrated Barrier. When you have a Khajiit Order ability slotted and you are blocking, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 5k damage. Damage shield recharges back to full strength after you spend 10 seconds not blocking. Deliberation. When you're casting or channeling a Khajiit Order ability, you gain major protection, reducing the damage taken. So for me, that's the Khajiit stuff's going to apply when I'm doing my channel acceleration. So there we go. I've got the channel acceleration on, plus I got that little minor force. Yeah. Thieves Guild, there's nothing really in there that applies anything. Undaunted does. Undaunted, we talked about the Undaunted Medal. Increasing my Magicka stamina and health, stamina, and Magicka, 6%. That's why we have the heavy and the medium armor. Undaunted Command, activating a ally synergy, restores 4% of your max health, Magicka. Current bonus, I get 800, 442, and 15 for when I activate a synergy. So that's always very helpful. So Undaunted, great way to go. Let's see. Covers Undaunted, Alliance. You saw I do the PvP just to get that so I can ride faster. Racial passives. This is a big one. This changed this past year, which was great. And there we get some Magicka Khajiit stuff going on in there, so we actually get some bonuses to it. Cut Purse increases your experience gain with medium armor line skill. So again, that kind of helps us out because we've got that medium armor piece. Increase your health recovery by 100 and your stamina and Magicka recovery by 85, so you get a lower recovery. Increases my max health, Magicka, and stamina by 25. That helps out a little bit. And then the big one, which it always had, and but now we can, it just makes so much sense to do a Khajiit Magicka, Nightblade. Increases the critical damage and the critical healing by 10%. Decreases your detection radius by 3. So the crit damage. So we're critting everything. Crit. And getting all that damage going. And then crafting. Always good to get your crafting up. But the two things that really affect us, medicinal use, using your potions, resulting effects for lasting 30% longer, which is really nice. And then for your food, in provisioning, the Gourmand adds 20 minutes to the duration of any food and adds 20 minutes to the duration of any drink that you consume. So those two big things, provisioning and alchemy, will help you out as well. That's it, isn't it? I think that's all the stuff. A little more coffee. All right. So that gives you all the skill breakdown, everything that I use. Let's see. The CP points. 810 is the maximum CP that you can have for putting in all of your points. These things can change. I can show you what I'm using on here. you can kind of tweak it to however you like. But what I'm using in there, starting in the Magicka side of stuff, in Ritual, I've got 48 into Thaumaturge, and that unlocks a few things. Thaumaturge increases your damage done with damage over time effects. So that helps my AoE dots, which unlocks Opportunists. When you get interrupted by an enemy, your next physical damage ability used within 7 seconds deals 15% additional damage. And it also opens up Perfect Strike, which increases weapon crit, which I don't really use. So there's a Thaumaturge. We use Master of Arms. In here, increase your damage done with direct damage. So I use that. Does that unlock? It unlocks Riposte. When you block a melee attack, you have 50% chance to deal 48 physical damage to the enemy. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. All right. Oops. Oh, and also Retaliation. When you block a heavy attack, your next light attack within 7 seconds deals 30% additional damage. That was lit up too. And then the big one, we put a ton into Apprentice. We have 161 total. We mix it up between the big three, which is Elemental Expert, increases your Flame, Frost, and Shock magic damage by 13%. Elfborn increases your critical damage and critical healing with Magicka abilities by 21%. Spell Erosion increases your penetration by 31.17. And it unlocks everything. So it unlocks Vengeance. When you block 3 spells within 10 seconds of each other, your next Magicka ability used within 5 seconds will always critical strike. It's not that important because I crit a lot. Increases your spell crit by 9%. Thank you very much. Foresight. When you drink a potion, the cost of your next Magicka ability within 7 seconds is reduced by 80%. Arcane Well. When you kill an enemy, you have a 20% chance to restore 3761 Magicka for up to 3 friendly targets within 2.5 meters of the enemy. I actually didn't know that. Huh. I didn't know that it went to friendly people around you. That's good to know. So that's kind of the big ones. That's where you get most of your kind of choice of what you want to emphasize in for your Magicka state. For the stamina ones in here, we get reduced to your block, reduced to your roll dodge. So I've got 37 and 38, which unlocks the Merchant Favor, which is kind of nice. Reduces the cost of repairing your armor. And Fortune Seeker increases the amount of gold you find in treasure chest in safe boxes. Oh, and also Treasure Hunter. Increases the quality of items to find in treasure chests. So yeah. So put 75 in there. Big one in this one, 131. Arcanist. Increase your Magicka recovery by 14%. And then I put the rest into Tenacity. Increase your Magicka and stamina of your fully recharged heavy attack by 12%. Which that unlocks everything. So Plentiful Harvest, you have 10% chance to gain double the yield from your normal resource nodes. Synergizer, when you activate a synergy ability, you generate 2 ultimate. Reduces your gathering time by 50%. People are always like, when they see me gather, like, how do you gather so fast? Well, that. Wind running, increase your movement speed and mounted speed by 2%. Increase your health and Magicka recovery by 10% while sprinting. Then the tower, I've got it in Sprinter and Warlord. Warlord reduces the cost of Break Free by 18%. Sprinter reduces the cost of Sprint by 10%. And that allows me 2 of them, right? Ensnare, when you use Bash, you have a 33% to reduce the enemy's movement speed by 20% for 3 seconds. And you get Inspiration Boost, increases your crafting inspiration gain by 20%. So that's some little extra bonuses in there. Let's see. Then I do quick recovery in the Lord. I like having that increased healing. Just a little bit to give me a little extra of that. And that also gives me a field physician. While you are resurrecting another player, your damage taken is reduced by 15%. So when I've got that on, and I've got my Ice Heart on, and I go to res someone, and I'm able to take the damage, if I'm getting hit with stuff while I'm trying to get someone up, it just increases my success rate of getting somebody up. The Lady is where we get most of our stuff. This is all your kind of reduces damage. I got 56. Reduces damage taken from Flame, Frost, and Shock. This one was from damage over time. So damage over time, damage from Flame, Frost, and Shock, and physical poison, disease damage. So 64, 64, 56. And that allows for everything to be opened up. Spell absorption when you take Flame, Frost, Shock, or Magic, or Oblivion damage equal to 30% of your Magicka, your max health. You restore 3465 Magicka. This effect occurs once every 10 seconds. Bulwark, when you have a shield or Frost Staff equipped, your spell and physical resistance is increased by 1500. Critical Leech, when you deal direct critical damage, you heal for 339 health. This effect can occur over every 5 seconds. Unchained, when you use Break Free, the cost of your next stamina ability use within 5 seconds is reduced by 80%. And then lastly, the Steed, I've got stuff into Spell Shield. An Ironclad Spell Shield increases your spell resistance by 1815. And then Ironclad reduces your damage taken against direct damage by 20%. And that unlocks 3 things. Invigorating Bash. When you bash, you have a 20% chance to heal by 1,000. Resilient, when you take critical damage, you heal for 199 health. And then Phase, when you use Roll Dodge, your physical and spell resistance is increased by 660 for 3 seconds. So there we go. So that's all my CP point allocation in there. Sip of coffee again. So there we go. So we've covered what I'm wearing. We've covered all of my skills and passives. We've covered all of the CP points, all my things allocated in there. All right. The last few things that we have in here are actually our food, which when I'm just kind of, going about, and I don't worry about, maxing out everything, Witch Mother's Brew is perfect. Increases max Magicka, max health, and Magicka recovery. So Magicka, health, and the recovery of Magicka. So that's a great overall one. Real cheap to make. Real cheap to buy even. So great one to have. Right now, for the damage overall, is Artean Pickled Fish Bowl, which we use for fishing. Because it does much more to my health and Magicka. So it's over 5k. So I lose it. So I get more Magicka, more health, but I lose out on the recovery. And so if I find that I need the recovery, I'll switch to that. I'll switch to that Witch Mothers. To do that. But for right now, that's that. When I do my parsing, when I'm by myself and doing the parsing, I will throw on Ghastly Eyeball because I don't have anyone throwing any orbs at me or anything like that. The Ghastly Eyeball, what it does, increases the Magicka by 4592, but also gives me the recovery. So it's almost as high as what I get with Artean Fishbowl, but the Artaeum fish one gives me health. So that's why I use it in regular stuff. This gives me like no health at all, so my health would be way too low to use it in there. But as far as parsing, trying to get my numbers when I'm by myself, when I would have someone in there that might give me, would give me orbs and stuff for the recovery, then I wouldn't need it. So this gives me, just the recovery that I need. So that's the food. As far as potions, for everyday type stuff, overworld stuff, I use my Essence of Magicka. Restores my 6k immediately, and then grants me intellect, which increases my Magicka regeneration by 20% for almost 30 seconds. When I want to do some power, if I want to do some damage, it's the Essence of Spell Power. I use this in VMA all the time. Grants Major Sorcery, which increases your spell damage by 20% for almost 50 seconds. Grants Major Prophecy, which increases your spell crit rating. We love our crit. And restores 7582 Magicka immediately. Grants you Major Intellect, which increases your Magicka recovery for 20%. So, all those things. Boom, 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 boom. So it is the potion that you want. So, good. For attributes, everything in the Magicka. Everything in the Magicka. Your Mundus Stone is the Shadow for all the crit. My Minor Slayer is showing up because of my False Gods. Minor Berserk is in there because of my my Slime Craw, my Helm and shoulder combo. My Brita is my my drink for the event, and my Lure is my my Artaeum Fishbowl. So if I have everything on, and I'm on the right bar, let's just make sure. So let's get that. Actually, I can show you both versions of it. But everything's all set. I've got all my stuff on. Everything. Here's the stats that I get. So if you want to, screenshot that. In there, I am getting max Magicka 39,594, max health 19,939. So I do have a good deal of health in there, so I'm not as squishy. Maximum stamina 11,066. My spell damage is 1986 with a spell crit of almost 80%, 79.7. My spell resistance is 13,299. Physical resistance is 9,669. And crit resistance we don't need because it's not PvP. There we go. So that's my stats looking with that. If I put on a spell pot, which would be me doing my most damage, I click that. Now I'm at 39, 544, 19,939. That doesn't get affected by it. My spell power is up to 2383. Boom. And my recovery is at 1024. Yep. Let's see. On my back bar, when I flip that, let's see, am I still on the... I'll wait for it to go down. So on the back bar, when I flip to the back bar, my Magicka goes down a little bit, 37,619. My health is still fine, stamina is still fine. Spell damage is 1986. The spell crit goes down on the back bar to 44. Magicka Recovery, that's the same. Actually, no, on the back bar, Magicka Recovery is 892. Front bar, it's 904. I'm toggling back and forth between the two bars. So that's why you'll see the different numbers. So front bar, back bar. Okay. The back bar with a spell pot. Alright, you saw the numbers. Hit the spell pot. Spell damage is 2383, 54.2%, and Magicka Recovery is at 1012. I toggle that back to the front bar. You see a difference, 79 versus 54. So the spell crit gives me a little bit more of that back bar. So that's what I'm pumping out with that. Let's let that go out, and then I'll put on my the Witch Mother's Brew, so you can see the difference of what's going on there as well. That coffee's good this morning. All right, so that's done. Let's take the Witch Mothers. Let's see the difference. So with Witch Mothers, Magicka's gone down, so it's now at 36,396. My health has gone down to 16,588. Spell damage, roughly about the same, 1986 is the same. Spell crit's the same. Big thing here, now I've got recovery. I've got Magicka Recovery, 1380, so I've got a lot of that going back. Back bar, 44. The only thing that changes, it goes from 1361 to 1380. 1380 on the front bar. Back bar is 1361. The Magicka Recovery. That's the only diff. So yeah. So that's why I say like the Witch Mother's Brew. It's great for just kind of all around stuff. And then I switch to the RTM when I want to go with that. So, all right. I think that about covers it, doesn't it? Oh. Because we went through gear. We went through skills, passes. We went through all the CP stuff. And we went through food. We went through attributes. We went through what my final stats looking. And all the things that I do. So there we go. Yeah. Rotation. I should probably go through rotation. Didn't even think about that. Now that we've got everything in there. How I do my things. Well, I kind of talked about this in my light weaving video. But I'll give you kind of a general rotation of what I do. Let's do the trials one. Set up in here. My rotation of things is that I prep with my Merciless Resolve, my number 3 there at the bottom. I prep that to get that going. I flip to my other bar. I hit my number 1, get my Wall of Elements. I hit my... oops, oh gosh, I gotta do my other prep, I'm sorry. I gotta redo that whole thing. So I start off with my number 3. I flip bars. I do my siphoning. I do my shield. I do my channel acceleration. That's my 4 preps. So that's usually what I do before I go into any fight. My Merciless Resolve to get that working. I get my siphoning so when it gives me my healing and gets my Magicka back when it ends, I get my shield on myself. And then I do my channel acceleration. So that's all my prep. So boom, boom, Boom. Boom. Alright. I do that. And then I start with the Wall of Elements. I do my Orb. I switch to my front bar. I do my Twisting Path. So that's my thing. If I have my ulti up, I'll use the ulti. So the process for me is I go 3, flip, 3 again, 4, 5, my AoE, flip, AoE, and then my my spammable. And then variants after that. And of course I light weave in between each one. So prep, 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 prep. Now I go that, light weave, orb, light weave, twisting path. And I'm light weaving with my spammable. My merciless resolve up, I pop it, flip, boom. Yeah. And that's my process. Yeah. I hope that makes sense. I'll go one more time. I might have gone a little bit fast. So I'll let everything go back down and cool down. All right. So one more time. I prep Merciless. I flip. Siphon. And a little shieldy thing. Channel Acceleration. Wall. Light Attack Orb. Light Attack Twisting Path. I spam until my Merciless is up. I pop it. Flip bar. Go do my 2 things. Siphon's back up. I click it. Twisting Path. Merciless Resolve is up. Flip. Ball. Orb. Flip. Light Attack Twisting Path. Reset things. My ultimate is up. I'll lay down that ultimate. Flip. And that's what I do. Yeah. I love it. It might seem complicated. And, like, don't worry about the DPS numbers. We were kind of doing stuff not from scratch. But for the parsing. But, yeah. So it's good. I do 40K, DPS parse stuff in here, pretty regular on it. So like I said, I'm not huge DPS, but I do pretty good. So, and the Nightblade the great thing I like about the Nightblade is that it just speaks to me. I just love it. I mean, I've tried other classes, but this one just works. I feel so comfortable with it. All its little things. I love prepping all the stuff, doing all the things in there. It's so much fun. I love the fire. I love the orbs. I really like this setup. In the coming months or whatever, when they're going to, change things or something in there. Who knows? But, the state of it. Oh, here, I can show you like some of the executes now too. Love that sound. Execute. Execute. I have to remember not to go too fast on my executes. With my light attack weaving, because sometimes I don't get my light attack off. Just love it. Just love that sound. Oops. I didn't manage my F2L. But you see, even my even not parsing. You saw I was in the 20s, 24, 25, and then as soon as we get to that last 25%. with that execute. You see my DPS went up to like 31 in there. It's so great. I love that execute. Yeah. And like I said, especially when you get like, a bunch of Nightblades doing that. So anyway, now I'm just kind of chit-chatting with you. So I hope this has helped out. I know people have been wanting me to do a a video like this for a bit, so that they could reference it and and check out all the parts of my build. So that's what I've got going on. So yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it. I like making these videos. So a little long one. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. Oh my gosh. So I hope you enjoy it and get a lot out of it, and you see what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. And if you have any suggestions for me, or any questions about the build at all, please feel free to put them below in the comments. Yeah, I always like hearing from people about it with that. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Like I said, I really enjoy it, and hit the subscribe button, ding the bell, whatever they say, so you get future notices with this. I know it's been a while since my last one, so I'm going to try to do more of these YouTube type videos in the next year. So, all right, love you guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all the support on Twitch and everything, coming out and watching me. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day and a new year, because I'm recording this on New Year's Eve day, so of 2019. So I hope 2020 is a real good year for everybody. So, all right, everybody, take care. Have a good one. Bye.